Hey, welcome to the next episode of Next Creators. Today we have Nate Geier from Mintbase. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Maybe you can give us a quick background into like what are you up to?
In the crypto space, it's been all NFTs all the time for the last 2.5 years. So we've deployed a site, redeployed the same site, redeployed it again, rewrote it all over again, did a whole new chain from Ethereum to Near, and now we are 3 weeks launched and seeing people use the thing.
That's awesome. How did you like to go back in time? How did you enter crypto space? When was it? Or why did you get into this?
Yeah. So my CTO of one of my first companies in 2013 had mined his own Bitcoin. He mined 6 Bitcoin on his own, and I found that interesting. That's when it did its crazy spike. The very first spike to $1,000, and then I got interested and lost my money all the way down from 800 down to 200, and then yeah, just been riding the wave ever since. Jumped into Ethereum when it was about a buck 14 after listening to my favorite podcast, Epicenter Bitcoin, which was a big driver of that world, and I've been riding the Ethereum wave ever since. About this time last year, we were actually one of the most used Ethereum dApps, and basically got slammed by the gas fees, which we'll talk about later. But why I got into crypto was I worked at a dApp called an app, a traditional application called Bumped, where you take your credit card. And so we're all about real purposeful things, right? Reward systems are notorious for being unpurposeful. You get awards, you never redeem them, and blah, blah, blah. So I joined the startup, and the idea was you swipe your debit card at Starbucks, and we'll give you fractional shares of publicly traded stock as a reward for a cup of coffee. So get a cup of coffee, we'll give you 0.0021 shares of Starbucks stock. That company's doing well. They raised 33 million, but I was the person doing a lot of the tech stuff and realized how much of a nightmare working with the financial system is. We had multiple touch points of clearing firms, the people that say you have X number of shares of stock because we say you do and we're a trusted company, and then Plaid, which is the card scraping system. And just seeing what a nightmare all of that was, I just wanted to tap the settlement layer directly, which is what blockchain is so good at.
Got it. So you pretty much like on one hand you were following crypto since like early days, and you saw like Ethereum also starting like early on, and on another side you were like interfacing this like traditional financial system, doing integrations there across many different parties, and realizing that maybe those one world can be solution for this other world.
Exactly, and it has not been an easy process. We've been building, I think, since 2018, and just the hurdles are insane. The learning curves are insane. Working with exterior wallets and the whole onboarding process, but seeing it grow over the years has been pretty amazing to watch. And
Do you also like? I'll be curious. Were you also like early to the internet back in the day, or early to like other waves of technology? Does it remind you like overall like how nascent the space is to some other places in time?
definitely, I wasn't like a hardcore computer guy. That wasn't my world. I didn't, work with computers when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I did not. That was not my world. I was a journalism major, and during the first financial crisis in 2008, I actually worked for an advertising agency, one of the biggest in the casino world in Las Vegas, and it was large. It was over 200 people. They had big clients like Palms Resorts and that sort. And I got thrown into the interactive department. So there's where I learned how to design web banners, and I learned about the beautiful for loop, which I could do an animation, moving something from X and Y coordinate to another. And then I just got hooked and probably haven't gone 4 days without programming since. But what was fascinating was that's when everyone lost a lot of money. So even big companies were losing a lot of money. So I actually literally saw before my very eyes the print media empire get dwindled and the interactive department rise. So you would see time after time again, the I would say 90% of that office of 200 was focused on print media, like billboards, magazines, that sort. We saw people getting let go every Friday. You'd see them come with their boxes, print media, print media, print media. The interactive department, we were hiring. So I got to see literally the interactive world grow and the print media shrink and get optimized over time.
Mm. And do you see something similar happening here or about to happen here?
I'd say closer to the about to happen. So I'm 100 million% sure blockchain is just going to demolish so many industries. We're just that onboarding hurdle is just so brutal, but we're just chiseling away at it every single day. Infrastructure is getting built, things like the graph are being built, more optimized chains like near are being built. I mean, the overwhelming sense of the wave is right there. Is it happening right now? Absolutely not. Is it going to happen? It feels pretty dang close.
Hmm. And when you jumped into crypto space, was Mintbase what you started right away, or did you also work on a couple other projects early on?
So actually, what ended up happening is uh, I just randomly put all my stuff in storage and then went to Prague, not knowing if I would be out for that long or if I would come back. So I went to Prague. I didn't think I was going to do a hackathon. Ended up doing just sitting down. I was like, well, I'll just spend like an hour and a half on this thing and this idea, which was essentially a ripoff of Bumped, which was hook up your credit card, have a merchant create a coffee stand. They mint NFTs. When you swipe your card, if the merchant says, okay, well, if you spend $300 at my coffee store, you automatically allocate coffee token to that person. So still using Plaid, you're seeing the swipes and then it gets switched over. Then the reality of the brutal onboarding process was like, okay, what do I have to do actually? We have to have a server that's going to be allocating NFTs. How much does that cost every single transaction? I have to convince a bunch of blockchain people to interact and connect their credit card with an Ethereum account. I have to, and then the reality set in. But what was neat is in a 24-hour period, I actually got a live demo where an NFT was actually getting allocated from a fake credit card swipe with Plaid. I actually showed it on stage at DevCon and ended up winning first prize at the marketplace one. I still have the cool get coin trophy. So then that kind of pushed me to go a little bit deeper. So then Consensus got interested and they're like, hey, you can be part of the Tachyon. I applied, I didn't get in. And RGA, my old advertising agency, said, hey, we're doing a blockchain accelerator program, 4 months from now. Do you want to apply? You'll probably get in. So pushed me 4 months later and applied, didn't get in. So, and at that point, I just had come so far and we just kept on going. Then we ended up getting a DAppCon to do ticketing for them. So it evolved from this like swipe credit card thing to like, we just need to get the basics down. Mint, trade, swipe, transfer, no swipe, credit card gone. And we've just been trying to perfect that ever since. And we had it perfected this time last year after hooking up the graph and having low Ethereum costs. And then had to start it all over again in August, knowing that the gas fees weren't going to get solved. So now we're literally at that same point again. We have the basics down: mint, transfer, burn, buy, but a lot more advanced with split revenues and split fees and split all these things.
I see. And how was it also like early days of Mintbase? My understanding it was pretty much you and Kara.
Yeah, we've been programming it alone all the way up until November of last year. So we brought in our first programmer to focus on the Rust side, Thor, who's been really helping with the uh, driving the 171 standard, which is an evolution of the NEP4, the NFT standard. We have two folks from Portugal. That's where we're here now. We're setting up our shop here in Lisbon. I love Lisbon, Lisboa, taking Portuguese classes. But anyways, it's an awesome team. Luis and Joao are just kicking butt, and it's a fascinating group.
That's awesome. And maybe a quick note also on Lisbon, like what's happening in Lisbon or Portugal at large these days? Like what prompted you to move from Germany?
Yeah, Berlin was the epicenter of everything being built. I think I can go really deep into why that is, but everyone was holding their. So Vitalik actually, I've been told, deployed Homestead actually from a cafe around the corner from Full Node. Full Node was created by the folks from founders from Cosmos, Gnosis, and they would have groups like Gollum and Raiden and Epicenter Bitcoin, the podcast, like everybody had their foot there. Even Consensus did their accelerator out of it. Binance did their accelerator out of it. The Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum core developers did their core groups out of it. It was just the spot to be. I think that's kind of changed. And fascinating enough, we're actually creating a co-working space here in Lisbon. I hate saying Lisbon because everyone says Lisboa here, but then I'm caught between the two. We're creating a new co-working space with also partnership with Near, and we are going to call it Liznode, and it's going to have an epic view, and we actually will move in August. And so all the heroes are here. The one who got me into blockchain and listening to his podcast, Brian, who now runs Chorus One, we hang out now. It blows my mind that this person who I looked up to all this time is now kind of in hangout level mode.
That's awesome. And so, like, sounds like there's like huge nucleus of people who moved to Lisbon. Was there a particular reason behind it?
I mean, it's no secret. There's definitely some incentives for European folks because there's some tax incentives. They're one of the few countries that don't really take capital gains focused on cryptocurrencies. I don't benefit from that because I'm American. American, they take money from everyone everywhere, so we keep it simple. And yeah, that's this is just it's sunny. It's kind of one of the digital nomad centers of the world because it's very it's affordable. It's incredibly safe. People in Berlin are really angry. I'm not gonna lie. They're just I don't know if you have you ever been to Berlin? Yeah, you get a cup of coffee and it's like you just wake up in a bad mood because they're in a bad mood. Everybody's in a bad mood. It's just part of the culture in Berlin. Here, everyone wants to help at all times. Like you can't go get a bottle of wine without three people, trying to explain the whole history of wine culture to you while you're. It's just and the beaches are beautiful. You can drive 30 minutes and find your own beach. It's a pretty perfect situation for what I'm looking for.
Nice. That's awesome. And so maybe we can also go back to this early days of NFT platforms when Mintbase got started. So which platforms existed at that time? Sounds like that NFT space like really exploded this year early on, but back then it was probably very few people involved, right?
Yeah, OpenSea, then Mintable was definitely one. We started, Rarible came after us, and that's a whole other conversation. They're doing awesome and have created this global understanding of NFTs. So congrats to them. But yeah, we that was it. I think that what was the big OpenSea competitor? It was like Bitski, Bit. It was a funded, but anyways, there's a few. Unlock was another group from the early days. We were always competing neck and neck of getting all the different conferences. Who's going to get the ticketing for what? Because we were kind of after the same thing, that like purposeful, useful, usable NFT. Um, yeah, that was pretty much the core. Super rare. I love those folks with known origin. Those guys really created the awakening of it all, and then crypto voxels and yep.
That's cool. And how was also the process of like rewriting everything in Rust once you also went towards like near path?
My hands, I don't think work anymore. They have this like forever cramp thing. I actually have little stick. We've been programming nonstop since August. Rust is really good. Writing the smart contracts is is a good portion of it. But the hardest thing is the indexer. We can dive into all that land. But I really believe that Rust is the future. I think it's fascinating that Near put a lot of focus on the EVM because I really believe there's kind of a lost conversation in how powerful Rust is, and just the global thirst for writing in Rust is absolutely there. But that could be another conversation.
Yeah. Do you feel like there is a lot of already overlap between people who like really into Rust and blockchain community, or you feel like it's kind of early and people are having like hard time getting into Rust? Because like what I saw in our like hackathons is that people 80% of hacks are done on like assembly script. Then you have obviously EVM where like Solidity probably like looking back will look 20 years down the line. Solidity will be looked at as like COBOL or something kind of it's there but like really archaic. So how do you think about like evolution of it? Like how quickly the kind of like this kind of like technology moves in terms of like Rust adoption?
Yeah, I've seen it. I wrote apps in jQuery. I wrote apps in Angular 1. I switched everything to I pushed Nike. One of my big claims to fame was I used to work at Nike on NIkeID specifically. It's where you can customize your shoe. I pushed them to completely overhaul ID from jQuery, which was written like a decade earlier, all in React. So I'm not. I'm kind of thinking the conversation of, hey, all the developers and all of the code, and there's way more of X, Y, and Z in Solidity than there are in Rust. I'm saying I've seen this before over and over and over again. It's the same argument of like, hey, all these people are in jQuery. We should commit and focus on jQuery instead of like focusing on what we know is the future, which is Rust. And after that, who knows what's past that. Uh, I mean, everybody, I haven't talked to a single programmer ever who said, I would rather write Solidity than Rust, or anyone who's even messed around in Rust. But they're just doing it because that's where the liquidity is. That's where most of the stuff is. For me, I would just rather focus on all these other pools that we can create and innovate on.
Hmm. And so, how do you like now that you've used Rust? How do you think about the dev tooling, like future of Mintbase as it relates to new functionalities and things like that? What it enables?
Yeah, I mean, writing. So the contract is this very, very small part of a real production grade blockchain application. The contracts are really important. They need to be written well. And Fuller wrote, 99% of that. So I can't dive into too much. But where the real challenge comes post that, I mean, once you understand the cross contract calls and how all that work, the real complicated piece is basically indexing all that information. So we have an indexer. We've forked some of the code that you guys had earlier. Flux team improved it. We did a little bit further, but basically, you can't use your smart contract as an API. Like you have to have a connection to it. You have to query it. You can't write all these different functions that gets data correctly. What you have to do is after a block has been confirmed, you have to organize the data in an easy queryable state, which is what the indexer does. So that to me was the largest challenge of diving into Nearland. But everyone's going to have the same problem, whether it's Flow or Solana. At least we had some groundwork to cipher through the things. I know the Graph protocol is starting to poke around as well, and we'll figure it out.
Yep. And also, how do you think about new functionality enabled in Mintbase, the collaborative like creation and things like that?
Yeah, so we've done a really good job of building dev tools for developers to create these things. We've done a pretty good job of like making it so that people can actually go in, deploy their own store, mint tokens on that. We have over 300 contracts created since the last 3 weeks of being on mainnet. So it's working. What we need to do a better job of is explaining how powerful it is to run your own smart contract. I think a lot of people are used to the super rare idea, which deploys their own contract. They add minters to their contract and then they run their own system. What we do is we enable anyone to deploy their own contract, which could be their own super rare type system, and they can add minters to that contract. So I would say we aren't really specifically for a single artist coming on to list their art. We're for collectives coming on board to organize and deploy something that that has a focus and a direction. This could be anything from an art collective to a shopping mall to a theater and seating systems to whatever.
I'm wondering, so this collective-based creation, is it something new from like that's what humans kind of like starting to do only now, or it's the thing that people always were doing, but just technology wasn't there? There's like other platforms had the individual approach as opposed to collective approach.
Yeah, I mean we're entering a new world where basically the laws, rules, and physics are predefined in smart contracts, and now giving people the ability to add other folks to these weird collective DAOs like Sputnik or Mintbase is kind of its own DAO in itself in its own right. Yeah, this is the beginning of what we think is going to start spurring some crazy innovation. We kind of look at our smart contracts as like your directories in your folder. You go into our system, you can manage three of your own deployed smart contracts. If someone adds you as a mentor, you'll see their smart contract in your dashboard. You can organize each contract to have specific things. Like this is my tickets for my this one type of event contract. This is another one on Wildeverse specifically for the vendors, like the beer for near, like being able to actually redeem an NFT for beer or a hot dog or who knows what else. We're going to try and add minters actually at the festival. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, we have this incredible opportunity because my co-founder, Kyle Levin, she used to know Alex, the founder of Wildeverse, which is a very big festival. I think usually they do 25 to 30,000 people normal COVID times. Now this year they're doing 5 sets of 1,000 folks festivals, like really good music, very good. Oh, I can go on. I don't want to get too lost in the rabbit hole, but basically next week we're actually going to fly out to Berlin to set up this hybrid NFT festival where we're going to have different metaverses streaming into a physical location where we're going to educate folks about the world of NFTs.
And that's pretty much the first of its kind, from my understanding, the hybrid kind of format, right?
Yes, and today we actually did our first airdrop of up to 1,000 individuals. So that was a pretty big, big one. We'll be doing four more coming in the next week. But these are folks who are going to attend the festival. I'm pretty sure it's with LinkDrop, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, LinkDrop team has created a tool that allows us to basically create up to 50 links at a time that people can redeem and actually get up to 8 near so that they can actually deploy their own store on Mintbase or try and trade and create their own economies at the festival. So I'm really fascinated to see how this all unfolds.
That's awesome. And so on one hand, you have people from like all over the place kind of attending through the crypto voxels, sounds like, right? On the other hand, you have a bunch of people already coming to Berlin and they probably will be experiencing NFTs for the first time in their lives almost, right?
That's right. Yeah, and Mintbase, we've never paid for a big artist to do drops, or we've never paid anyone to do any marketing. We've paid $0 on any sort of marketing. We just find our technology really neat. So like our big drop are basically the true people that are building Vildamuva. So some of the people that are helping build the actual physical spaces, they're their own DJs who are going to go, and you can see the Wildeverse store on our system, and it's average humans trying to figure this thing out with us.
That's awesome. How do you think also about the like evolution of NFT space? What's coming going forward?
So we had this global awakening recently of, hey, these things are big. We still haven't figured out the why yet, but we got enough interest to get this like celebrity fold. I mean, yesterday Twitter just did drops all day. That was fascinating. So we have the global awakening of awareness of NFTs. I think that's going to stop this whole like those are stupid. It's just a screenshot. I can have it. It's like it's such a fascinating conversation. You just say, okay, yeah, the whole world is really excited about this thing because we didn't think about this screenshot idea. I missed it. No, this is a big thing. We haven't figured out the why yet, and Mintbase is every day just trying to figure that out as hard as we can.
That's super fascinating. And what's also like going forward for you, given that you've been like kind of like in the sprint, like rewriting for many months? What are you focusing on these days? Did your day-to-day kind of change?
Uh, I'm trying not to code as much because my hands are literally not working anymore. Like I'm trying to not write anymore. It's just you could look at my GitHub history. It's just as green as it could be. I'm yeah. I need to start switching more in the business role because I think we've missed a lot of opportunities because we've been so heads down. I think we've taken like maybe 10 meetings over the last 8 months just because every day was wake up early, code, 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 and then go to sleep, wake up, do it again. So we're switching more into that realm. Also, yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen, but our core promise was get the product out. I could have easily taken my eye off the ball. I mean, we literally had every VC in the entire world knocking down our door, including most of the famous people you've heard of, asking for a pitch deck, and I just said I have no time to create a pitch deck. Right now, we're coding, so I don't know if that was a smart move or not. Everyone in the space will tell me it was dumb, but we have a product that's live now, and I can feel really proud that it's all up from here as far as building and generating actual usefulness out of this dang system.
Hmm. And also for people who are like entering the space and still kind of having reservations about like just crypto as a whole, not just NFTs, what do you have to say for those people, for some of the listeners that we might have who are like skeptics, still kind of like looking in the space, not quite like kind of like you in 2000, I don't know, 13 or 14, like at that point in time, like what would you have to say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can either join the party or you can just harumph it. You know, we're bushwhacking. We're in there bushwhacking. We know we're on the right direction. You can either join the party or, tell us we're wrong 10 years from now when everyone gets it. Like, you talk to VCs and they all say, "Oh, I don't understand this. I don't understand that." I'm like, "Yeah, well, when you finally understand it, then that's going to be way, way too late. We don't have time to bring you all up to speed. You got to jump on the crazy train and figure it out with us." Who is Mintbase for? We have one target of humans that we want joining us right now. And I know everyone's going to scream at me for saying this. It's not the artists. What we are after are the experimenters. And yes, artists are part of this group, and we welcome you along. But we are specifically here for the folks that kind of want to get down in the weeds and try and figure this thing out together with us.
When you say experimenters, is it like people who are like doing all kinds of experiments? Is it people who like do generative art or like exploring new formats, or like what kinds of experimenters?
So the first group of people, all right, so what is the crypto space? Like we were grinding, grinding, grinding to try and like get mass adoption and people to actually find some use case in the system. My theory was that Spank Chain was going to find that group. I always thought that, the porn industry was going to be the first mainstream group to get it because they need to get out of the current financial system because they're always getting shut down. The first online payments was made on, seeing boobs. That didn't happen. The real first mainstream group was found by Super Rare, not specifically by artists, but by full-on experimenters, people that didn't know what they were doing. They didn't see any real use case for it, but they were just effing around saying, all right, let's see how this goes. I would say Sparrow, Lenara, Ilion, Maxo Series, all that, those kind of crazy people. Definitely. Colby, they just were building random stuff and seeing what happened. They were the experimenters and the artists. Now we have this new, concoction of people that are more opportunists than experimenters. We really want those experimenters again to just kind of come with us and figure this thing out.
Got it. So it's almost like there are like, well, there are probably a bunch of different people, but almost like you can think of it like two large groups. Overgeneralizing, one is doing it for fun. It's like something that excites them. They're like, they have no idea what it is, but they're like spending time there for fun. And then there's like more like kind of group is like, oh, the space is hot, let's kind of jump in, more like short-term focused.
Yep.
All right, what else do you have in terms of like last things to say for our audience?
Well, we're working on it. So we're still a team of 3 developers and 3 business folks in one community. If we're slow to reply to you on our 400 million channels, we apologize. We're doing the best we can. We spent a lot of time on our developer tools so that basically once you deploy your store, you can do everything with code. Us explaining how to do that better is going to be the focus over the next few months. So creating info videos of what our graph API is, how to get who owns what token in real time directly after a 1 second block transaction, how to interact with these sort of things. We've done the hard part. Now we have to explain all these crazy things we built.
Got it. And where do people find you? Is it Discord the main kind of point of entry? Is it forum, or is it like any of the many different channels you list on the website?
Definitely, I look at Discord a lot, and I look at yeah, all the telegrams. I try to stay on the code, but I think I'm switching more into helping people understand this stuff mode. But yeah, Telegram. We have like 7 different. If you just go to mintbase.com forward slash .io, sorry, mintbase.io forward slash community, or look for community. There's a list of all the different areas. There's a Mintbase builders Telegram group. There's CreateBase, how to get involved in there. We have a DAO that does funding mechanisms where if you want to deploy a store, we'll help you do that. There's a lot of channels to figure it out, but you're not going to get handheld. You're going to ask questions, and then 2 days later, we might have a reply. This is like this is full bushwhacking mode.
All right. Well, thank you for coming today. That was fascinating.
Thank you for having me.